You did it again. Here we are.
Can you believe
Blazor
it?
Puzzle. Yeah.
55.
55. Sammy Hagar might not be able to drive 55, but we certainly can. I'm Carl Franklin from AppV Next, and that's Jeff Fritz from Microsoft. Hey, Jeff, it's .NET Conf time for you, huh?
Oh, T-minus 2 weeks, friends. It's bare knuckle time here. Hold on, because the train is pulling into the station. We're going to have a great time with .NET Conf in 2 weeks, man. Oh,
it's going to be good.
Yeah. Lots of planning, lots of work. We've got a great team that's been working on this event so that we can announce new versions of Blazor, new versions of .NET. We're really excited for the event.
So as my friend Sunny Day from Maine says, I'm busier than the one-armed paper hanger.
One-armed paper hanger. All right.
All right. Well, with that, let's get into last week's puzzle.
Let's do it.
All right. So this one was a little JavaScripty, and the whole goal was to have a page with a hidden iframe. Iframe, by the way, the only technical term starting with I that Apple doesn't own.
Not interface? No.
Me frame, iframe.
iFrame's a new picture frame from Apple, is it?
Yeah, that's right. I got an iframe for Christmas to put my mother's picture in it. So an iframe is sort of an embedded page, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And if you weren't around in the late 90s, you may not even know about iframes, but
or even frame sets, right?
Yeah.
That was a thing. So
So the idea with an iframe is you have a source, and that goes to a URL. And the URL has to be within your domain. Like you can't have an iframe to, google.com or something.
This used to be a security issue, but there's ways to fight that, and the browsers enforce that you can't do this outside of your domain.
Right. So this came from a real-world customer that wanted to have a 5-second timeout when the user stops moving the mouse, pressing keys, clicking, or scrolling. Well, it wasn't really 5 seconds, but in this demo, we're using 5 seconds. But they wanted to have a long timeout so that they could get control or get notified after so many seconds of inactivity.
This is the kind of thing you see on like your bank website where, hey, you haven't been active working on the website for the last 10, 20 minutes.
Right.
We're going to preventively log you out just to make sure that nobody sneaks in.
Right. If you haven't spent any money in the last 5 minutes, what's wrong with you?
I think that's the casino website.
On Amazon. All right. So here's what we do. We have this register timer method, right? We pass the .NET object. If you should know about JavaScript, JS Interop if you're doing Blazor, because .NET object is used to call back into C# from JavaScript. So we add our event listeners for the document, our document, and then we also want to add them for the iframe.
Sure. There are two different parts of the page, and these are those events you were talking about that show that somebody's interacting. They've moved their mouse, they've typed, they've clicked on something, they've scrolled. Yeah, that makes sense. Yep. I can follow that.
And then set timer interval waits for that certain amount of time and pops up this idle warning, or calls this idle warning with the .NET object that say this, here's the warning message that the time is up. But reset timer happens if, every time there is a mouse movement or whatever, right? So reset timer happens on all of these events. So therefore it goes back to 0 and we start counting again till we get to 5,000.
Very simple method that isn't going to impact processor memory while folks are interacting with the page.
Yes. Okay, so I'll go to the timer demo, and I'm going to start outside, this stuff right here is outside of the iframe. The iframe is actually showing weather inside here. So as long as I'm moving the mouse, it's not going to expire. This waiting for timeout isn't going to say timed out. But if I wait for 5 seconds, let's just wait for 5 seconds. There it goes, timed out.
All right.
So now let's try it again. But this time I'm going to move around inside the iframe, right? I clicked, I'm moving the mouse. Oh, and it timed out again. So the puzzle was, how do we fix this? Well, this is how we fix it.
Content window. Carl, what's content window?
I didn't know about content window, but apparently this is on an iframe, the window. And so this is what you have to add your event listeners to.
So let me make sure I understand this. So iframe is referring to the iframe object on the page, and adding an event listener to the iframe object doesn't actually put it on the window object that the internal document is being presented from. You're adding the event listeners to the document on the parent page. They're on lines 11 through 14. But in order to do that same thing on the child document, we actually need to touch the document, touch that content window inside the frame, not just the frame.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay.
And you might think iframe document would work. Nope. There's also a content document. Nope, that doesn't work either. So this is the only thing that works.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's just be sure. I'm moving around, and now it should not time out. As long as I'm moving, 5 seconds goes by, and it does not time out.
Clearly 5 seconds. I can tell from the timer there at the bottom of YouTube. It's right there, that timer.
Yeah, that's right. So what's really cool about this one is that, a lot of our past winners, they like to play the puzzle even though they already have a mug and a t-shirt. But they send in their answers anyway, and they're more likely to get them right than people who send in for the first time. But we got a lot of great email from the past winners saying they really enjoy the puzzle. They're learning a lot. But we did get a winner, a new viewer. If I said listener, I'm sorry. I'm used to podcasting. A new viewer who sent in the correct answer, and that winner is, drum roll, please.
Yeah.
Benjamin Murphy from Lake Tahoe, California.
Oh, Benjamin, congratulations.
And for having his correct answer picked at random, Benjamin's going to win one of these.
There it is.
A dry-aged Blazor Puzzle coffee mug.
Wait.
Dry-aged.
If it was wet, it wouldn't hold coffee too well, would it?
Well, it wouldn't be wet-aged. It's got to be dry-aged. Okay. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And Benjamin's also going to win one of these. A single malt Blazor Puzzle t-shirt.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yep. Nothing but the best for our winners.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if you want to play, go ahead and check out the next puzzle, which is coming out right now.
Let's go.
All right. So, Jeff, we are looking at a Blazor web app with global WebAssembly interactivity, right?
Yeah, and the type of situation we're looking at here is something that could be in an interactive server or a server-side rendered project. But I wanted to do this with WebAssembly to kind of show a little bit of some of the things that you might be looking at inside of an application.
Okay.
I'm a big fan, as I've been building more and more complex Blazor pages, of moving as much of that C# code that's at the bottom, move that into its own class file. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Code behind.
I can unit test that a little bit easier because I can spin up that class file directly. I can easily see here's all the interactions in one place, and I can put it side by side with the markup. So I've started really getting into this mindset, and I was looking at all of the at directives at the top of the page, and on some of my pages, Carl, it's a landmine. There's like 12 lines of directives.
Right.
So I started moving some of those into my code behind as well. And it got me thinking, it'd be great if we could remove all of them. Because then I could code generate the .razor page when I want to change maybe I want to change a tool set, a tool library that I'm using. Maybe I want to change and code generate the code behind a little bit, and I can do these independent of each other because they're completely isolated from each other. And I can, having everything removed that's a C# directive or code block from that HTML and the Razor file makes it a heck of a lot easier. So I started doing this to the weather page here. And if you click through to the weather page, you'll see it still works here. See, it still works. But what I've done is I've moved all of the code block and the HTTP client that's being used to get this data. I've moved them into the code behind weather.razor. So there it is, weather razor CS. And if we open that up, there you go. You see the collection of forecasts. You see there's an on-initialized async that goes and gets the data. It's all the things that would have been in our code block.
And you're using the inject attribute instead of using the @inject here.
Directive. Yeah. So I've got all that moved over. And if you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see this is just markup with that little bit of HTML there. The code block is there. We can actually delete that now.
Yeah, we can delete that.
Yeah, it's just the table with its for loop and the if statement. Just those decisions that the UI needs to make to present.
However,
I'd really like to get rid of that page element there.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
So I know how the page directive works. That basically says, I'm going to add this as a routable component. And, you know, at runtime, it goes out and finds all of those @page directives so it can find the routes.
Yes.
So how?
Right.
I don't understand. Doesn't that have to be there?
And that's our question for you, dear viewer. Is there a way that we can remove this @page and make the weather page still routable so we can still present it inside this? Now, in more complex applications, we might do some other tricky things with that, but I want to remove that @page directive. What can we do to make that work?
Now, just one more thing. Can you just explain again why you'd want to do that? What's the benefit?
The benefit of that is that then all of the direction, all of the C# direction that's going to help generate this page is sitting there inside my code behind class. I want all of it sitting over there so that maybe I code generate some of my C# code. Maybe I code generate some of my markup over here. And those directives and things that are doing the business logic, things that would be being completed inside my view model interactions are being done over in my view model, and it makes my .razor file a little bit more of my view that I'm working with, where all it's doing is that dumb logic to pivot and present the angle brackets we need to render on screen.
So would that pretty much give you the ability to code gen routable pages with new routes?
Maybe. That's certainly a possibility. There's lots of things that we can do if we can move this thing because we want it to live over with our code.
Wow. This is a really good puzzle and something that I really didn't anticipate anyone ever wanting to do, but you give a good reason for it, Jeff.
Yeah. When we think about other larger applications where you want to start generating some of these on the fly in some cases, having that up there can be difficult to manage and deal with.
Yeah. So if you think you know how to do this, you know the answer, please don't post it on social media, but instead send it to Jeff and me at blazorpuzzle@appvnext.com with the subject puzzle number 55.
Yeah.
And good luck. You never know. You could win fabulous prizes.
Fabulous.
That's it, man. We'll see you next week. Have a good one.
Take care, friends.
Bye. Thanks for watching. Make sure to check out blazortrain.com and the .NETshow.com for more great content.